guys, welcome back to the channel. Okay, try and make this a little bit quicker than the last one. Alright, update number 3, episode number 3. So, just panning along the layout. I've done a bit this week. You'll notice that horrible glossy dark blue sky is gone. So I went to Mitre 10 and found that sort of a cloudy colour, so it's basically a white with just a little blue tinge, and I like that a lot better. So haven't sort of decided whether it's a hot dry summer setting or a winter setting at the moment, because sort of from here downwards was built when I was dabbling in Australian HO, and then it ended up being a little bit short, and yeah, I sort of stopped that, lost a bit of interest, and kept focusing on my O-Gauge UK layout, which I still model. I do have another channel, Small Rail 6831, but yeah, it's sort of taking a little bit of break from O-Gauge, but I'm going to rebuild a switching layout that'll probably sit above this one or vice versa. Anyway, since the last setting, I did make a post on the channel that I bought a HO scale Walters corrugated iron kit, which with a bit of modelling license will be a smaller shed than 1/64, but I think it'll look okay. So it's obviously not finished. I have painted it using, just trying to find the bottle, can't see it there now, but it's a Tamiya brush on paint, acrylic, aluminium. So in my younger days, when I used to make a kit, I just thought, oh gee, they've put them in the right colours and just sort of made them and never sort of painted them. But yeah, if you want really good realism, you do need to paint them. Even though you can see the roof, that's the colour. I'll get it to focus, the plastic. So the roof hasn't been painted as yet. Neither has it been stuck down. Oh, it's semi-sticky on one corner. Can't focus. But yeah, so yeah, got to finish painting that, and there'll be a bit of rust effect and a bit of weathering done to it, but quite happy. So that's going to be a good shed for the siding. I'll have to see if I can get down there. There's two doors on the other side, so and there's one's half open, the other one's completely open. You can't really see, but yeah, so the wagons will be right up near the edge for loading and unloading. So yeah, I've done a bit of ballasting here, so where possible, like the prototype NZR, the sidings will be buried tracks to simulate a lighter rail, so buried in ballast for sidings. Watching not a lot of recent content on YouTube. I hope that want to sort of heavily encourage that for those of you that are involved in some of the New Zealand Model Railway Facebook groups. I know that seems to be quite popular. I'm not a big fan of social media, so I don't really like to use it, but I'd like to encourage people to share their layouts on YouTube as well, because it's a way for the world to see what we do and help us grow the hobby. So anyway, a bit distracted. So yeah, I saw a layout with some rusted rails. So our rails are always really rusty. In fact, the older ballast turns a rusty colour just through the weather, washing the rust into the ballast and what have you. So I have used this one here, so it's a rust base colour, life colour. I think these may have been purchased from Mighty Ape, but actually good paints. So I've gone around, I've got to about here, and I've just done a bit of a track clean. So now I'm just sort of testing the rails. I still I've got a wonderful DFT locomotive body coming from 3'6". Highly recommend this company. Lewis, his service is amazing, and the things he can do is really filling a hole in our hobby. So big shout out to Lewis and his work. Obviously he's a HONZ guy, an HO guy, but he does some 1/64 bodies that in fact I didn't actually see the DFT advertised on his website. I just asked him, can you do the body, and he said yeah, he had a file for it, and he provides a painting service. So I'm having that painted in Transrail, so it'd be sort of a mid-1990s prototype. So anyway, I had this Franceschi model, which I just wanted to show you, even though it's HO. It's had a bit of a weather. It's been covered in a flat clear, to me a flat clear. Despite the lack of detail and the inaccuracies, look how much better that looks, and more realistic it looks than as they come out of the box. So I'll just pan down here, and I just want to show you one last thing before I finish. Because this is DC and doesn't have a decoder in it, I decided to build my own DC controller. We'll just look down here, and here it is. I had this box kicking around. I bought it on special from Super Cheap Auto. I think it was only $20 something on special. They might be normally in the 30s, but and I bought the actual controller, which comes with this actual PWM out controller, the speed controller, and it had a push button which actually failed, but it was only $10 and got here within about 4 or 5 days from China. So I had a couple of switches around. So, and I must say I've used DCC for many years. There's my Digitrax. So this layout is going to be designed. Everything is live. So if I run DC, obviously I've got no isolated rails, so it's just one loco at a time. But it will eventually be all DCC and hopefully sound. But I must admit, compared to some of the cheaper commercial controllers, which with a power supply often well over $100, this runs this fairly cheap locomotive really well. Alright, so I'm just going to crank it up to about 44, and there we go. Slow it down a little. Oh, that's actually gotten snagged on a little bit of bush there. I think it's detected a lot of short circuit, so just switched it back on, and it's got short circuit protection. There we go. Look at that. And I just wired a switch in as my reversing switch. So I've just got I'm going to print off some little labels for it. But yeah, if it's something anyone would like built for them, quite happy to make something up, but just have a go. The 12 volt power supply, this one's got like a 2.5 amp one, but you really only need a 1 amp for a smaller layout. So you go J car and get a just going to crank that down a little bit to show you even how good the slow speed running is for an average model. Yeah, so you can get a power supply for about $25. Let's just stop there. But that's the loco, not the controller. Look at that. So, and we'll just stop it. Alright, I've gone on a long way, but a few things to show you, and yeah, keep watching, like, subscribe and share, and join me on this journey. All the best now, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and if I don't release another video before Christmas, wishing everyone a happy and Merry Christmas. Bye for now. Hi guys, welcome back to the layout. Alright, and this will be episode 4 in the video log of this channel. So the layout has a name. Alright, so there's been a little bit happening. It's called the Gracefield branch. Okay, and I'm from the Wellington area, born in Upper Hutt actually. And I was looking for a real location that I could set my model railway in without having to knowing I don't have the space to closely copy the actual track layout of the real thing. In this hobby we've got this thing called compression, where we're compressing a scene into it like a small footprint based on what space we have. This layout's sort of for next thing will be, you can see either ends I have got like exits and entrances. So that initially is, so if I exhibit it next year, it's at an exhibition or two, I can actually put a loop that runs around behind. So at times during the exhibition, where a lot of young people and what have you just enjoy watching the trains go around in between a bit of shunting here and there without having to sort of focus on shunting all the time in sort of a busy environment like an exhibition. But also this there or the other end leaves the door open for a second module. So yes, so it is based on the Gracefield branch, which is still there in part, but the only thing served is really the Hutt workshops, the Kiwi Rail Hutt workshops. So the line runs from Woburn Station on Hutt Valley line, the Upper Hutt line, across to Gracefield and Seaview. It used to continue further around, and then looking at a map, which I'll try and put up on screen, there was some sub-branch lines that went off to serve various industries, and it's got quite a rich history. There was obviously Griffin's and Sons Biscuits. Probably the biggest one was ICI G-Lux. There was an oil storage area down in Seaview that would have been served. There was actually probably 3 car manufacturers. I think there was Ford, Todd Motors, who were Mitsubishi, and maybe another brand or two assembly plant. Might have even been General Motors Holden as well, plus some other smaller industries. So I want to have so while the track plan is not prototypical. Some of the industries will be real industries that's serviced on this line. So so using some modeler's license, this is a yard which sort of runs parallel to the big Kiwi Rail hut shops, workshops, with some compression to the other industries. So before we make it too long, what I've been doing the last evening or so is sussing out the industry. So obviously the size of this layout at the moment, I really only have room for 3, 4 or 5. To add multiple ones, to use the American terminology, this line up the back, the longest siding will be a team track. So, and of course I've got this one in the front, which will have a name, but the imagination will be that the actual building, which is probably not going to be modelled, will be in front of that. And also there was actually a decent sized general freight terminal, which actually serviced flat cars and that, and containers. So yeah, the plan is down here, this will be the Gracefield Freight Depot, a very small representation of it, which will be 2 sidings. This here with the hard standing will be where a flat car, a UK or one of the newer ones, or even an older style flat car, can be spotted and picked up. They have containers put on it, or other goods that we sort of put on our flat cars here in New Zealand. This one across the back will be more overgrown and buried track, and that will be service a warehouse door, for example, and there might even be a small fence there. So there's going to be a low relief portrayal of the side of a warehouse to sort of depict the Gracefield Freight Depot. Those of you that don't necessarily know me, yes, it seems like I've made some quick progress, but I reuse a lot of things. So when I dismantle a layout or change something, I keep what I can. And this low relief side of the warehouse was actually built to be a smaller building, probably an O. I was quite happy how it came out. It's just on a bit of foam board, the styrene, and some brick card, and I thought I could make that into SN3 164. So while you're doing the composition thing, I've learnt from experience, and that don't just start sticking and planning things, because we may change your mind. So that's just sitting with the clamp, and I wanted to sort of see where I liked it. This is going to be Dulux, and I wanted to have Dulux on the layout because my grandfather was an accountant for Dulux. So I was looking up some logos, and this sort of based in the 80s and the 90s. I'm going to go with the older one, ICI Dulux. So that's going to be used as a sign on the building. Not too sure what my new corrugated iron depot will be, but that will be given a name. You can see some pallets in there. Quite happy how that's come up, really happy in fact. So we can spot a wagon there. This will probably have, Dulux will probably have provision for a outwards goods store that box wagons, vans are filled. And then obviously being a paint manufacturer and stuff like that, they probably would have had delivery of chemicals. So down this end we can probably spot a tank of some description. In the middle here I'm going to actually just have a low relief representation, like you look through adjacent and you can see the hut workshops. I'm not sure what that sign says actually, but I'm pretty sure that is the hut workshops, but I will double check that just in case actually. But yeah, if I could find a suitable print just to go along there to represent the hut workshops, which won't actually be modelled in the middle, and then have the industries there. I'm going to try and probably right down in the corner just pay tribute to griffins. This is probably the oldest part of the griffins factory. Obviously griffins is all baked and made in China now, but probably not even New Zealand owned, I'm not sure. And we're just going to have a tribute to griffins down in the corner. We'll sort of see how that looks, but I have to try and blend that in. I may even try and find a better photo. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, guys. But yeah, lots of projects to get on with. Probably by the time you see the next video, I'm going to have this piece of track ballasted. I don't, because I've got it's representing a newly laid section of track. It's probably not going to be buried. It's going to have a nice clean ballast, and we're going to sort of ballast this back siding that goes to the warehouse doors, and just redo some of the existing tracks. Alright, having a ball, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all my new subscribers. Any suggestions for videos or kind constructive comments, please let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe and share, and help me promote New Zealand Railways in model form, whether it be HLNZ or 1 to 64, which is what I'm modelling here. Even NZ 120, though it's probably too small for me to model with my eyesight and what have you. Like a big shout out to all the guys doing wonderful things in New Zealand Railways. Bye for now.